Welcome back to another episode of Eat, Don't Compete, and I am your girl, Jasmine DeWeese. So we're back for another episode, and this episode will be a bit more introspective, a bit more reflective, because I want to talk today with you about the difference a year has made. And if a year can make a difference in my life, I believe the Lord wants you to know that there can be a difference that a year can make in your life as well. So before we go too far, I want you to make sure that you stop what you're doing and press that subscribe button. Why are you here if you're not enjoying what you're listening to? Life is too short to be listening to anything that's not worth your time, that's not worth your effort, just not worth it. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. And while you're there, jump into those comments, join the conversation about how this particular subject matter, how this conversation, how our content resonates with you. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. I'm looking forward to seeing your likes. I'm looking forward to seeing your comments. I'm looking forward to you sharing this with someone else. And before I go so far, we will be talking about this in this episode. Of course, this is the not for sale version, but you can get your copy today of Picking Flowers and Pricking Thorns, a 50-piece poetry book that is curated into 6 sections that I believe that you can find yourself in these pages. Again, you can get your copy of this book, my poetry collection, my debut poetry collection, available on Amazon now. Okay, back to the episode. So you guys, I want to talk today about the difference a year has made. So I've been podcasting now for 8 years. Since 2018, September, it'll be 8 years. I have had the Eat, Don't Compete podcast show. And for those who have been here from the beginning, the Eat, Don't Compete podcast show began as the Eat with Her, Don't Compete with Her podcast show. And, we condensed it and we made some changes along the way. But the year, but I want to put another number out there because I did in fact take 6 years off. So I don't like to be misleading. I took 6 years off. I took 2 years off after I had my son, but I was still considered a podcaster. So the numbers I'll give you is 8 years as a podcaster and 6 years actually podcasting. So I enjoy what I do, but I think that there is a significant difference in the last year. So in March of 2025, we set out to go on YouTube, and it was nerve-wracking for me. I never wanted to. When we began the show, myself and my best friend, when we began the show, it was strictly a audio situation. It was completely foreign. I'm not going to hold you. Not a lot of people were podcasting, and it was something that was new to both us and our audience. But as things began to grow, people did begin to get on video, and there's a connective thing that happens when you see me, and it feels as if we're having this conversation, not just this audio conversation. Although we are still available on Apple Podcasts, on iHeart Podcasts, the different Spotify and things of that nature. And if you're listening to this, I want you to stop right now and leave us a review and a rating on Apple. Those things are not just something to pause it for me to brag on what we have going on. No, it actually helps us grow and expand and understand what we're doing right and evaluate what we could be doing better. So I would appreciate if you can stop what you're doing and do that. And back to the show. So in that time frame, I'm a little over the year mark, right? I wasn't able to do it on the exact year mark, but in April, I put out the first trailer for the new season of the Eat, Don't Compete show. And I do feel like it was something totally strange for me, something totally new for me, something the Lord was doing brand new in my life. So I want to stop right here and I want to play you that original trailer. It's cringy for me. It's humbling for me, but I'm going to play you that original trailer. And I want you to kind of see how different we came into this from how we began our very first episodes. I might include some components from the very first episode in 2018, versus, which don't include a video, might include some of that audio, but I will include the trailer now. Take a listen to the trailer. So I won't begin to tell you just how many takes of this video that I shot. How I shot takes with some light coating of makeup, and although I don't have my hair freshly retwisted, that played on, hey, let me put my hair down. Let me see if I like it. How about I put my hair up? Do you think I like it then? The vanity was at an all-time high. But I guess the revelation behind that was exactly what Eat, Don't Compete represents. This idea that we are unpolished humans who come before you in conversation with you to have an authentic and raw conversation about transformation. Like a transformation and the finished product is not there. This is unfiltered. So I think that authenticity allows me to relate with you guys in a way that I never really want to change, because I realize that my own authenticity that I give off to the external is a result of what God is doing for me, to me, and through me internally. So I say all that to say that, I've been on a personal growth journey. I've recently had the opportunity to what I call get kicked out of therapy. And what I mean by that is to not have to go to therapy as much as I once did. And that's a complete and utter blessing, if you will. So now coming back to Eat, Don't Compete, I'm coming back, from a place of emotional, spiritual, personal, social growth, like being emotionally sound and spiritually stable is a much better place than I was. And this raw and unpolished version of me is how I plan to produce content to you, not in a way where, I'm constantly chasing, this idea of perfection. Because like I've said many times before, I'm a recovering perfectionist. I'm not quite there yet. So some of the new goals is to create community, to build on that community, but also within the community to cultivate this safe space for vulnerability, for rebuilding your relationship with Christ, and to stay in that lane of transformation by living out that particular truth. But this time around, I have to be honest, I'm doing it with God's blueprint, because, any ways in which I've done it before, it hasn't always yielded the best results. And, a lot of times I think that we put our dreams, our aspirations, our goals before God in hopes that he would fulfill those and give us the finished product with the blueprints we gave him. However, if God is the architect, then he also has the blueprints. So I'm declaring in this particular season and space in my life that God is the architect of my life. And I'm back with Eat, Don't Compete because that particular building, that particular room in the building of my life is not tore down yet. He's not done with me. He's not done with Eat, Don't Compete. So when he mastered that plan and he made that blueprint, he created Eat, Don't Compete with me in mind, and hopefully with you in mind as well. So I'm trying to create a newness to Eat, Don't Compete. I want to say it's the evolution of the show you formerly known as the Eat With Her, Don't Compete With Her podcast show. And I'm hoping to create this heartfelt, thought-provoking, pinch your girlfriend like, girl, did she just say that kind of content that would pull you in but keep you here because we relate. We're one and the same. I am also unpolished. I am also full of flaws, also full of sin, but I'm here to be in community with you so that we can grow together and be the very best version of who we were always meant to be. Thank you. Talk to you soon. Okay, guys, so that was the trailer of our newest season when we came over into YouTube and what we decided we would talk about. And when I say the difference that a year has made, I have to include the idea that God had made the actual difference. That I think that if I'm being completely honest, I wanted to have this sense of knowledge at some point in my life, or just enough biblical understanding at certain points in my life. But I just didn't want the accountability that came with having the amount of wisdom, the amount of knowledge, the amount of intimacy and relationship that came in a relationship with God. Because I knew that accountability means you can't just have it. You can't just say you have it. You can't just be someone who's known as having it if you don't get to also be obedient. And I think that this year has been a season of obedience. I had to start some things. I had to stop some things. I had to sit and I had to be still in areas that I'm not used to being still in. So it was quite the change. But I'm very happy with where we've been in this past year and the things that God has allowed us to see. There are things that happen. I can't cover everything of the year, but there are things that happened this year that showed me that was this evidential proof that God was real, that God is in this, and that, I've wrestled with whether or not, I want to. No, I'm not going to get into that. I've wrestled with some different things concerning this show, but he's identified success and fruit with the ministry that this show is. And I think I've shared it before, but I remember one day someone said, Jasmine and the Eat Don't Compete ministry. And I'm just like, the ministry, whoa now. That was something that I really ran from, but I believe I'm in a season of embracing who I am in totality. And yes, that's constantly forming and constantly growing and constantly changing. But from what I know about who I am, from what God is revealing, in that I'm able to really have the capacity to withstand in this season, I'm embracing it. I'm not running from it. I'm not moving away from it. I'm not shying away from it. I'm standing 10 toes down in who he's called me to be. So yeah, the year in YouTube universe, I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about understanding how I cannot deem this is the thing I'm running home because it's so true to me. I cannot deem my success in the same ways that the world has, because I will always feel like a failure, even if God is looking over there like, hey, you're super successful. And I've learned that by being in this space. It is something that happens. Hear me out. There's something specific that happens when you stand in the obedience of who God has positioned you as. If you posture yourself under that obedience, that reveals something about how you've been viewing a thing. And I believe that's the place I'm in. He's been revealing himself to me, but he's also been exposing who I am, the filthiness of my heart, to me privately, so that I may appear in a certain way publicly, so that I can constantly return to him permanently and perpetually. And I'm excited. I get excited. But some of the things we've been able to produce during this season, it's mind blowing. Like I tend to know, I'm pretty self-aware enough to know what my own strengths are, right? And because I'm gifted in certain ways growing up, I was said that anything that my hands touched, they would blossom. It would be successful, whatever the case may be. And I've seen that to be true. And that can create a sense of arrogance. Oh, you can. Oh, you got it. No. So there's a place and a space that God has sat me down and humbled me enough to be like, look, because I've seen some of the fruit and I'm like, this fruit would have never been produced without God. Stop doing all of the moving and the shaking for God without him, without his permission, without his presence, without his approval. So stop. We oftentimes do a lot for God because we strive in some reason. And I guess it's safe to identify what it is. For some reason, we believe that we can earn this salvation. And I know that a lot of times we are people who want to say thank you with our lives. You want to say thank you for buying you this, that you give a thank you card when someone gives you a gift, or you feel like you have to gift them back because they gifted you, and so on and so forth. But whatever the case may be, to understand that when you were saved, that that was a free gift of salvation. You cannot earn it. You were saved through grace by faith. Okay. So some of the things we were able to produce, and back to the original statement, some of the things we were able to produce this year have been mind blowing, because I'm not particularly a seasoned theologian. And because of that, sometimes that can play on whether or not I feel like I should be able to tell you about Peter walking on water, or whether or not I can talk about Jesus going through the wilderness, and whether or not I'm qualified. And that's a play on the enemy, because, when I got saved, whether I was saved and doing what I was supposed to do, or saved and not doing what I'm supposed to do, the Holy Spirit still was upon me in that moment. So that means that I still have a sense of authority, and that if I seek the Lord, I can find him. If I seek the Lord for you, if I seek the Lord for the subject matter, if I seek the Lord for this podcast, if I seek the Lord in my prayer life, if I seek the Lord in reading his word, if I seek the Lord, then he will be revealed to me. Right. I think that we think it's humility when we think ourselves more lowly than we ought to. So some of the things that were able to be produced in this season have been nothing short of the hand of God on Eat, Don't Compete. Not even so much so on my life, right? Because yes, the hand of the Lord is on my life, but the hand of the Lord on Eat, Don't Compete has been revealing. We've been able to produce a free devotional. That free devotional came from a byproduct of our series. We had several series on the podcast this season alone. We started out with a series called The Blueprint of Becoming, The Blueprint of Becoming God's architectural plan of spiritual growth, or something like that. I'm butchering it, but that was the first series we embarked upon, and it had several different components. I'll make sure that I link it in the description, and also link it at the bottom of the page so that you can follow that series. We have a playlist for it on the YouTube channel, and it was a good series. And that series produced a free devotional, which is available on my website, www.jasmindeweese.com. And so that was something that was incredible to live through. So we have several videos within that series. We also produced a series that we will be getting back to called Hey God, I Have Questions. That series has literally that series was a byproduct of how I operate within my intimacy with God. and what it did for my own spiritual growth. And I really encourage you to take a listen to that series. That series was fun. I know that I'm going to go back into some contents of that series. I know that there will be something that I'm working on and I'm really excited about as another byproduct of the series. So that series was also produced within this year. The last series that we are literally just finished up was from discontentment to God's definition, reminding us of what God said success was versus how we operate in success within the world. Like, we live in the world, but we're not of the world, but we often have to renew our minds in that area. And I find that I've struggled with discontentment. And when I struggle with it, I said, where is the why? The why is because you have no real why. Your why is shifting and moving and shaking, and that we can't move like that. So I'm really excited that you guys got to be a part of that year, be a part of, I won't get into the numbers. The numbers are very public on YouTube, about how, how you've been viewing and what my subscriptions are. And, I have a new number that I'm presenting to the Lord boldly, if it's within his will, for us to grow in, so that we can see how far this thing could go, how far we can continue to talk about the gospel, how far the Lord is willing to take us, how far we're willing to go in obedience, how far we're willing to go in intimacy, how much our prayer life will increase in the frequency, and not just the frequency, but the intercession on your behalf. So I'm super excited about that. I'm really looking forward to what's next for Eat, Don't Compete, and how he wants to grow us, because I'm not, I won't sit here and act like, I don't care that we don't grow. I've left a season or a lifestyle, if you will, of being super goal oriented. But when you've left something like that, it's not completely far from your mind. So I'm growing in understanding that I can't continue to be, chase goals. However, I do want to move in excellence for God. I do want to move in excellence in how I communicate the gospel. I do want to be able to communicate the gospel to the best of my ability and putting my very best foot forward. And in doing that, I want to continue to submit to whatever it is that God has for me. And the last piece of fruit that we've been able to produce, and I've talked about it, you can follow the last episode, is my book. Like I said, I haven't gotten my other copies as of yet. This is the not for sale copy. But my book is a 50 piece debut poetry collection. And it's called Picking Flowers and Pricking Thorns. And in this book, I called it that because I think that we're, from the first series to where we are now, we are in a journey of becoming. And, as we even look at some of the different contents of the title and the title alone, picking and pricking. Picking, you're out, and I use the garden as a frame of reference, or even picking flowers for a bouquet, right? And you're picking, right? And they're beautiful. You're embracing it. You're understanding how beautiful life can be when you're just enjoying what's in front of you. You're having this experience with something beautiful. But as you pick, you tend to prick if you're not careful, if you're not understanding, if you're not seeing. And even if you do see, you still might prick. You still might have a reaction to what's occurring. And then there's flowers, and then there's thorns. There's the beauty, and then there's the consequences of beauty. And because all beauty does not come without its set of consequences, whether good or bad. And so this book, even starting from the title, is a book of contradiction, that there is beauty and there is brokenness, and there is blooming and there is bleeding. And so I wanted to make sure that I gave a full kind of autobiographical, if you will, and some of the poems are not necessarily about me, but autobiographical expression of who I am, as if you're going to an art show. This book is my art show. This book is fruit from years of being a spoken word artist, and years of not being able to be outside because my ministry is inside, and years of performing poetry before people, before I even knew it was ministry, and years of being a performer and not a minister, and years of understanding like, hey, now this is something I need to take more serious. Not seriously in the sense I need a book, but seriously in the sense that God gave it to me, and that I have to respect the gift giver by respecting the gift. And I say all that to say that there has been a beautiful difference that a year has made. That this past year has been it had its ebbs, it had its flows, and but I've seen God through it, and God has seen us through it. And so if you're here right now, I encourage you to think about the difference that your year has made. No, we're not at the end of the year. No, we're not at the end of the quarter. No, we're not about to start a new year, but in some sense of Eat, Don't Compete, we are starting a new year. But what I am most happy about is that you're here with me, that you're here to embrace what it is that we have going on. Stay tuned for so much more that we have in store for you. But my prayer is that God continues to blow your mind with not just what he can do for you, but in who he is, and understanding who he is, and really growing in your intimacy with him. So thank you for tuning in to another episode of Eat, Don't Compete. And I am your girl, Jasmine Deweese. Peace.